Hi, everybody. This is a this is day 1839. Let's not forget that number. 1839 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room and his life was taken from him. And it was because of him being a whistleblower, and not just any whistleblower, but the whistleblower that reported the criminal trafficking that's tied to the cartels there along the El Paso border and into Fort Bliss, that's connected with the generals, okay? That's connected with the command. Um, it's very big. It's bigger than Iran Contra. This is like Fast and Furious, bigger than Fast and Furious. Um, and we know that because of 5 years of investigating this and also enduring a lot of harassment, a lot of retaliation, a lot of threats. And uh, instead of reaction to all of that, we've investigated those that were doing that to us. And through those investigations, it has revealed the key players. And so it has revealed the crimes. It's very criminal. And we have identified those crimes. We have documented those crimes. We have reported those crimes over and over and over. We have put our treasure to reporting those crimes. And we've had to a lot of time to do that. So, because we knew that what they were telling us, we knew that Sean Bernabe, the commanding general of Fort Bliss, that he was a very bad actor. That he was a very bad actor. We knew that Lieutenant General Donna Martin, the Provost Marshal, CID, IG, the Army IG, Inspector General, that she was a very bad actor. We knew that JAG were very bad actors in this. That what they were telling us were lies. They lied to our face. We know they were lies because we caught them in their lies. Um, with, of course, Nadal Baim is the biggest example of that, the Palestinian arms dealer that is so central to Richard's case, with his connections with Richard's command, also with the arms dealing, also with the cartel, also with the funeral homes, also with the trafficking of Richard's car, and on and on. He's very central to all of this. And so we knew that there was a lot of lying going on. Let's see if I'm on here. Make sure everything's working. Oh, there we go. I can see everything now. So, yeah, that has been how we have confirmed the crime and who the criminals are, and they're still active. This case is like no other case, we've been told, and we believe it. It's just so big, and the prime suspects and those that are guilty in the cover up, they are active still. They're active because it's the deep state. It's the deep state. It's those that are governing for own personal gain and foreign ideology, for foreign and domestic enemies, that are part of this big $1 billion criminal trafficking scheme. Thank you. Um, Thank you so much, Tama. Thank you for coming on. She's saying, I'm so in awe of you and your family. You look your pain and treasure to expose this corruption. You took your pain and treasure to expose this corruption. We as a country owe you and your family a ton of gratitude for all that you have done to expose it. Thank you so much. This evil, and it is very evil. Hundreds of thousands of children were trafficked through Fort Bliss. It is very evil, and people were given mortar and urns, being told that that's their, or animal ashes, being told that that is their loved ones, paying for that while their loved ones' bodies were dumped in a narco cartel plenitude crematorium, and there's more of them, in Juarez, left to rot for years. Let the rats eat through them. This is hell on earth. These people. And Beto O'Rourke is connected to the owner of that, along with the Pan Party operatives, Pan Party, Sinaloa cartel, the Chapatos, Chapatos faction. That's the El Chapo, the Chapatos faction of the Sinaloa cartel, because there's been a split between the El Mayo Zapata faction of the Sinaloa and then the Pan Party, El Chapo, Chapatos, they call themselves. And that's in that those matras, right? The matras that were put up, these big sheets that were raised all over Juarez just recently, calling out the Chapatas and their Sinaloa criminal cartel, that's part of Governor Maru Campos of Chihuahua, of the state of Chihuahua. Her mother that had oversight, that lied for years and years, saying, "Oh yeah, we investigated this crematorium with these, you know, hundreds, over 400 now bodies left to rot." Um, when it wasn't even licensed. It wasn't even licensed. And yeah, so this is very, very evil. And so today was just such an amazing day because of the media hounding lies about this case, the bad actors, the prime suspects, the guilty parties, and the cover up hounding. These are generals and generals people, okay? Generals people, politicians and politicians people. They have their own little gangs. And that's what we've been up against with all. And I don't think anyone else understands more than President Trump, because that's how we knew that this was a targeted effort on President Trump, how we understood him, because Richard was experiencing it. We were experiencing it. All of our supporters were experiencing it. They're still experiencing it. The retaliation, the active deep staters, right, that are the guilty parties in this. That this was their baby. This was their criminal activity. This Walmart mass shooting and the silencing of Richard Halliday, right? The cover up of the funeral fraud business that was going on, the extortion of our good graces that we have, because even though we want to that our border is secure, that we want a secure border, we still agree to pay our taxes and give money through USAID to bury the migrants that have lost their lives and they're unidentified. And we were giving money for that through donations, through charitable donations, or through USAID. We were given money for that. And what happened is they were taking advantage. These millionaires were taking advantage of the system with their NGOs, and they were getting these funds and then leaving the bodies there to rot, right? So you have unidentified individuals. You have the fraud of El Paso, and this is El Paso, okay? This is servicing El Paso, Fort Bliss, that whole area where Purchase Funeral Homes works, where Sunset Funeral Homes, Martin Funeral Homes, Plenitude Funeral Homes. That crematorium is a funeral home. Okay, they were um, advertising as a funeral home, and so the mortuary affairs. You have Solomone Nusa, a U.S. Army major in charge of mortuary operations, directly the brother of the prime suspect, CID agent Tavita Nusa, who is a disgraced CID agent because in 2021 he had his badge terminated. You have to do something really, really bad to get your badge terminated, okay? It's very difficult to get your badge terminated. His badge was terminated in 2021. So you have this connection with the mortuary affairs has always been a common denominator in this. Remember that really nasty, vile, vulgar witch, self proclaimed witch, that was harassing us for years. And every day for months and months, the most vile and vulgar harassment and threats. They have impersonated us. They have impersonated Richard. They have tampered with pictures. They have tampered with the evidence. They have tampered with the files. They have gotten leaks because this is the deep state. This is this common denominator of traffickers, the funeral business, the uh, Mormon, the Mormon connection. There's this Mormon connection in all of this that we were even told that by James Courtney Hart. Okay, that was a problem. That was a problem. He's the one that alerted that to us, and we're like, I don't know if we believe him, and I don't know if he meant to tell us that, but he did, and we looked into it, and sure enough, and the big news that came right before we got the letters from President Trump was the Mormon FBI assistant special agent in charge there in the El Paso field office for the FBI that now we have, because of whistleblowers, and we've confirmed that these whistleblowers are correct, that this was with uh, Jesus Nieto Jr., with George Torres. They're the ones that were interfering. They're the ones that were leaking even to Tavita Nusa, Leilani Hart, the prime suspects in this case. They're the ones that have been interfering for years in case he's been there. Colin Whitten, the FBI assistant special agent in charge. He's been there for over 2 decades, and so he's done a lot of damage in El Paso, and so for that information to come out is huge, y'all, huge, and it really is. Liberation Day for El Paso, right? With all of this exposure, it really is great news for El Paso, and that's why you see Beto O'Rourke coming out now, and really fighting for his life. He's part of it, right? He's living next door to the owner of the crematorium, the rotting body. I mean, can you imagine? But not only does he run the crematorium and the fraud with the funeral homes, but he's a businessman. He's $1 million businessman, and that's in El Paso. That's in El Paso. So they tend to live in El Paso, and they get licenses and stuff, but they're cartel. They're known cartel operators, and so if you live next to Beto O'Rourke and you're a known cartel operator with all of these $1 million businesses in El Paso, that are transnational, right? Transnational, then you can kind of understand, you can understand how big this is because they can absolutely move human beings because they have the hearse, they have the trucks, they have the connections to move across that border freely. And that is why you saw such hatred for President Trump's policies to close, or I wouldn't say close the border, but to secure the border and to vet the border, right? Because we were there. We were absolutely crossing that border and we were being vetted every time that we did that. That's what he wanted. And they didn't want that. They didn't want anyone looking in their hearse. They didn't want, because you saw the picture of what was in the hearse, a disgusting, rotting body. And who knows if there's weapons in there, ammunition in there. Auto parts are a big thing, all kinds of equipment, humans, children. Um, they were trafficking and they had the freedom to do it. And especially, when 2021 came and Biden was everything exploded. That's when the hundreds of thousands of children were trafficked. They just went crazy. They just took total advantage of their criminal trafficking ability. And of course, now we have the death of Delta One, who was in charge of the tunnels, that there's tunnels everywhere, and big human trafficker. I don't know if I mentioned that yesterday, but all kinds of trafficking through those tunnels, and several of those tunnels are right under schools. Right under schools, and the schools are located right on the border. So, so I want to say thank you so much, Tama, for those kind words. And thank you, Anicia, for your constant prayers and love. We love you too. Uh, we want um, uh, we want to free El Paso and Fort Bliss and our country from the grips of these very evil doers that continue to do their evil. And so we have our work still cut out for us. But President Trump just gave us, well, just not one, but two. Not one, but two. So in less than 48 hours, we have received two letters from President Trump. And even in the second one, Melania Trump, just added fire to it, just added God's fire, right? God's fire. These are two very different letters. They have different purposes. The first one, of course, is all about the accountability, the plan for accountability, reassuring us that he is committed to bringing the highest accountability to those that hurt Richard. Absolutely. And the second letter is um, more personal, more personal, and really declares what we have known from the very beginning, what the evildoers have tried to stop from getting out. They have smeared Richard. They were on a smear campaign. I've said this from the very beginning. Why are you on a smear campaign? If you're saying that Richard is a missing soldier, why are you on a smear campaign? Because I know what you're saying is false. And why is the JAG on a smear campaign? And why is the command on a smear campaign? Why is the El Paso police, the MPs, sorry, the Fort Bliss MPs on a smear campaign? Why is the CID on a smear campaign? It didn't make any sense to us why they would want to smear Richard Halliday. Just go and find him. Go and find him. and then we can deal with all the rest, right? But you have a mission to leave no soldier behind. You have a mission to find him. And for the law enforcement and the army and the command to engage in cover up right from the get go, right? Right from the get go. It was very clear to us that they were lying and that this was a cover up and that something very serious happened to Richard. Very serious. And we're right. And what President Trump has confirmed, corroborated in the letters, is that we have been right all along. What Bob Moore wrote is false. What uh, Rose Thayer wrote in the very first article about Richard is false. These are all lies, they're false. They were, I mean, can you imagine if Stars and Stripes Rose Thayer, she's an operative for the evildoers, right? She's an operative for the evildoers. We confronted her and she didn't care. She didn't care. She rather be an operative for for the traitors, the treasonous traitors, than to report um, correctly for the better of our country, for the protection of our country. Yeah, so Rose Thayer was the first. Uh, you know, and of course, PAO Allie Payne will never forget her very very bad activities that we reported from the very beginning. Um, so that was very clear. And then, of course, El Paso Matters. Absolutely, they are bias, bias, bias. I wrote the song. Um, it's they are just they're enemies. They're enemies of this country. And El Paso Matters is owned by El Paso Community Foundation, which was engaged in fraud. They were being investigated for the fraud of the over $12 million that was collected for the victims of the Walmart mass shooting. You see, that's what they do. They put on this impression that they are kind and benevolent and that they are a charity, and yet behind the scenes, they are really the devil in action, right? And El Paso Community Foundation, we absolutely have hard evidence of them committing fraud with the Walmart mass shooting funds, the payout of that, the distribution of that, and we have identified that crime, documented that crime, collected corroborating evidence for that crime, and we have submitted those. So we have for years, worked very hard going through all of the different players that we could possibly, that came up that were stinky, right? They were stinky. And so we looked into them, and sure enough, and it absolutely is connected to our son's case. How is the fraud of the El Paso Community Foundation connected to our son's case? Well, it involves Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, the relative of Danae Katzen. Danae Katzen, the credit card girl. The credit card girl that had Richard's credit card, was in possession of Richard's credit cards after his death. And that when we got to El Paso, immediately called us and trying to mislead us, misdirect us, be a false witness of the whereabouts of Richard, and and yeah, and she did a pretty good job. She did a pretty good job. She is a trained con artist. She's a trained con artist, and she's relative with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia on 3905 Bliss Avenue with the Ambrose family, which is now connected to the whole crematorium scandal, okay, because they're the funeral home, the church, or I can say the faith group um, that is involved in this fraud. Um, so, and of course, Jonathan Ambrose, he is directly connected to 143 ADA, right? He went to West Point. He never finished West Point, but he went to West Point. He did serve at Fort Bliss. He was deployed with 143 ADA. So this is a direct connection with Dallas Hart, direct connection to Richard, direct connection to Fort Bliss, and his first wife, because he's been married twice, and he's of course married to Danae Katzen. So eh, when we said that the Walmart mass shooting case is intertwined with Richard's case, we said that because we had hard evidence that corroborated, that confirmed what we were saying. We have not made things up out of thin air. We have absolutely done the hard work to collect the leads, right? And the CID told us that we needed to collect the leads or they wouldn't be able to help us. So we did it. We got busy. We collected the leads, and of course, it led to their fraud. It led to their crimes. It led to the command's crimes, all the way up. Many four-star generals, three-star generals, and their groupies, right? Their groupies. Um, these generals are very political. If you're in the military, you absolutely know that once you become a general, it becomes very political, and you have your political teams. You have your teams, and they are dirty. It's just like Veronica Escobar's team is very dirty too. They're up to dirty tricks. It really makes you hate the whole politics thing, because it's so evil. And here all along, we just wanted to know what happened to Richard. We wanted to know who did it, accountability, and we were very gracious at the beginning, um, very patient, and we investigated, like they said, and we put up with a lot of these groupies, a lot of these political political operators for different political groups, and of course for the military also. And we knew that we didn't know who was who. We got a good picture now of who's who, and now from submitting and submitting and submitting, we got in less than 48 hours. Can you believe it? Two absolutely jaw-dropping, amazing letters from President Trump. And I will tell you, President Trump does not call a person a hero easily. Okay. Um, but he called Richard one, and more and more. I mean, just poured out the compliments to Richard, the highest honors to Richard, and deservingly so. Deservingly so. Very emotional. So, but what does this say? Let's really analyze. What does this mean for um, getting Richard's remains, for getting accountability, for moving forward? Because at the end of the day, even though they declared Richard deceased, and that unleashed all of the receipts for that. And then 4 days after President Trump became president, he designated Richard killed in the line of duty. And so, with all the other paperwork, absolutely what that meant is that Richard was murdered on Fort Bliss in the line of duty. And so, with that information, it's like, okay, then where's his remains? Where's his remains? You just don't get killed on a military base and you have no remains, right? So these remains, we want our son's remains. Now, of course, we have Solomon Anusa, the mortuary operations having conflicts of interest. Of course, now this crematorium being revealed. That that is by no accident, okay? Because there is no free press in Mexico. They were forced to cover that. That is absolutely because President Trump is knows what happened. Matter of fact, Richard was his whistleblower, right? Was his whistleblower in a line with um, President Trump. Richard was in line with President Trump. He wanted to stop the criminal trafficking, right? So that meant a secure border policy, which was a pro President Trump. So this is sorry, it's getting a little emotional. Um, so definitely, President Trump was there. He knows Richard was in communication with Washington, D.C. at the time, with the FBI at the time, with IG at the time. And of course, 911 he called multiple times, also reporting to Child Protective Services and more and more. So this is not not something what we knew because of other indications is that Trump absolutely knew um, and was keeping up with our son's case. And then a few months back, we definitely got a huge indication. We knew that President Trump was really uh, on this case. And now with the letters, what does this confirm? This confirms he probably through the extraditions of the cartel leadership, starting with El Mayo, and then the 29 in February, and which were also like treasurers, right? They were financial. One was really big financial person, and then now with the 26 that were extradited, you see the release of the information of this crematorium. You see the arrest of the police officer, the Mexican police officer that was the hitman against the Labaron or LeBaron family. That is from the Mormon community over there. Um, and three women were killed, six children were killed. They're American citizens, and now we know that it was a hit job by a security police from Governor Campos's team, from Governor Maru Campos's team. So this is that's huge news for us. Everything is fitting together, and all of that is being revealed because of President Trump getting to the bottom of this, and then through economics and tariffs and all of that, bringing that to the table and getting accountability. So the two letters with all of the retaliation that he has endured, right? Um, he absolutely has checked out our family. Um, and of course, the deep state, the bad actors, they had access to our entire life. That's what all of those vile and vulgar messages, they knew everything about our family. And praise be to God, um, they couldn't find too much against us, right? Too much against us at all. So but they knew things. My mom's like, "What's this? What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, mom. They have access and they were going through our personal confidential files with fine to, this is kind of scary, right? That they could go through our personal confidential files because of course Rob, 30-year veteran, 30-year veteran, they went through his 30 years with a fine tooth comb, y'all. They went through every one of our children's files, went through my file with a fine tooth comb. They knew everything about us, and they wanted to weaponize it. Okay, that's what their intention was to weaponize it. And what could they find? Just intimidate, because we have clean records. We have totally clean records. But what they did was they would pick, because Richard's adopted, they would pick out things that only they could know from those files, that they would reveal publicly to intimidate us, that hey, hey, we've got your files, you see, and that we've got access, we have power, we have power, we have access to your confidential information, and you better shut up. That's kind of what the gist of it all was: intimidation, even threats. And that's I don't want to say that's only what they had, because what happens if you had something in your past? They would have exploded that, and that would have been a weaponization of confidential information in people's lives. And I'm sure that they've done that in the past. So we felt it was really necessary to keep going, to expose this group that has infiltrated our agencies and our institutions, our military, and have access to these files, and that weaponize it. That needed to be exposed. And so, of course, uh, in that, we understood how they could retaliate against Richard, weaponizing what we've entrusted to our military leadership. They weaponized that against Richard before his life was taken. And they did it at the highest extent. Even Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe was shocked at how bad they retaliated against Richard. And because they have this network of support, they didn't dot their I's, they didn't cross their T's, they didn't feel it was necessary. And so um, that's how we really it, have the hard evidence of their weaponization, of their abuse of power, of their harassment, their threats, um, their actions, just so evil. And if they do this, and they do the criminal trafficking, and they entrap our soldiers with bringing in young girls onto our military bases with cameras, and entrap them and film our soldiers so that they cannot be whistleblowers, because they'll use that against them, right? They'll use those films, where maybe the girl will say, look like she's 18 but really is 14, and they get in compromised situations, and they film it, and then they can blackmail our soldiers. Well, Richard Richard stayed away from that. Richard stayed away from the drugs. He stayed away from their traps, and that drove them absolutely crazy. He even made videos about it, and that drove him crazy. So he truly is a hero. And for President Trump to know all of this that is going on, right, and to have suffered himself through all of the retaliation, that's, you see that, the traps, the false narratives, the intelligence agencies weaponizing, the Russia against him. Um, he absolutely understands that this is possible. And so, looking at all of our filings with all of our hard evidence, Of course, 4 days after he became president, he designated Richard, the DOD designated Richard in the line of duty, which was a very big deal legally. And now, with these two letters, he knows the answers already. He's not going to send out these letters and risk anything. Okay. He's not risking anything. And so he knows everything. And so that's why these letters, two of them, the duo, right? It is a boom. It is a boom against the deep state actors, the operatives for these evil operations that are going on, the criminal trafficking. It is a huge blow to them and a huge, uh, grateful shot in the arm to us, knowing that he's on this, right? That he's on this, that we knew we were right all along, but now the public can know that we've been right all along. Anybody that had doubts now can know that we've been right all along and that Richard is a hero. So, this is huge news. Accountability is coming. Richard has been designated in the line of duty, but he's been designated now a hero, a true American hero. And this is, and uh, over and above his duty, okay? Um, being over and above his duty. So this is huge news, and we're very very grateful for President Trump. Uh, we are responding to that with uh, w- with uh, with a couple requests. With a couple requests. So we are still fighting for the remains of our son. We are fighting for accountability. Those are very important to us because we know that well, that needs to happen, right? That's the right thing. That's the right thing. And if you keep the right thing, uh, as your aim, just do the right thing. Then uh, you know, I think a lot of blessings come, even in when you're in hell, right? When you're in hell, it's this has been, I don't know how else to put it. It's just crazy. But if we can do the right thing, and if that can spill over to El Paso and to Juarez, to our country, right? To our countries, since this is international, this is absolutely transnational. All of this what has been happening, and if we can um, have that spill over and make America great again. So says President Trump, the golden age, right? Make America great again. If we can relieve other families, this has already impacted a lot of people in a positive way, um, because they are like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. So we can't stop, right? Because you look at Lavina Johnson's family that has wanted accountability. You look at Vanessa Guillen's family that wants accountability. You look at so many cases. They want accountability. And through this case, if we can give them just some or a start and hope for accountability, then uh, that will be a huge blessing, a huge honor for us. So we are continuing, and of course, our aim is the right thing getting Richard's remains. He cannot be in that crematorium rotting away with the rats eating through him. Every one of those bodies, and they're still finding skeletons, every one of them needs to be identified through DNA. In this day and age, it's if we can find out who Nadal Bayim is, if we can find out who Bayim is against this deep state, keeping him secret from us, then we can find out who these individuals are that were dumped and left to rot at the crematorium. And there is a chance, there is a chance that there's evidence of Richard's remains being there. So this is, uh, you know, it's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. Um, it may be at the end of all of this, and finally I'll really just break down and cry. But right now, we have to stay very focused and do the right thing. So I'm just very honored by President Trump's letters. They are so professional. They are absolutely caring, very caring. Um, and they mean business. They are substantive. They have substance to them. They are meaty. They are the heavyweight, like the heavyweight champion, letters that have weight, right? That have meaning, that have substance. This is what these two letters are. They are meaty. They are the heavyweight champions um, of accountability, of justice, of law and order, and they're also so caring and gentle and beautiful. And we even thank First Lady Melania Trump um, uh, with her blessing um, and hope and strength, and her strength in these letters. So thank you so much. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. We'll be back every day until we get accountability and our son's remains back. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying with us for so long.